Bill Hurd from Hackaday. Today I'm going to show you about 6 different ways to desolder stuff without breaking it. As I said, we're going to be talking about desoldering. You'll have to forgive me, I've been staring into the light too long, setting this shot up, so if you see me wander off, I am legally blind at this point. However, we've got infrared for desoldering big stuff, BGAs, ball grid arrays, other surface mount packets big. I use this particularly if I've got a big land under the area that's used as a heat sink that you just can't get with hot air. At least I can't. I don't have the patience for hot air. Speaking of which, we have hot air. We're going to show, you can see there's supposed to be a BGA adapter for the hot air. Again, if you've got the patience to use that, more power to you, better luck than me. And then this thing, I love this thing. We used to use an expensive one of these in production. Now I've got one I got for 159 bucks, and I'm walking around desoldering everything in sight. So we're going to start with this one. Let me show you how to use it. All right, so again, here's my desoldering gun I just got. It's a ZD-985 if you want to Google for it. I got this off of eBay, and it has a power cord to heat the soldering iron part, and it's got a vacuum hose which pulls a vacuum through this tube. There's a glass tube there, and there's a filter on the end of it. And what you try and do is heat up all of the solder and then pull the trigger. You hear the vacuum, and try and get it all in one shot, because as soon as that chunk of solder goes by, then you can't get what's left because you can't pull a vacuum. So I'm going to show you how I use it here. I got some cameras set up in different areas, and you're going to see me wiggle it. Once I start to heat it, I wiggle it to break the pin loose, the component pin, and then I'm going to pull the solder, pull the vacuum, and hopefully I'll get it all in one shot. I have you on the side view here, so hopefully you'll be able to see where I wiggle the tip to break it loose from the sides. You can hear it squeaking a little bit, solder squeaking. And that's good. That pin actually just came all the way desoldered in one shot. So you can see I can go right down the row desoldering. There's my wiggle, and there's a desoldered pin. And just that quick, you saw me go down the row desoldering the pins. Moving on, I'm going to show you how to desolder surface mount using just some of this stuff. This is a metal that melts at a less temperature than solder and allows you to get all the pins molten all at once and lift your part out. So let me demonstrate that. All right, I'm going to remove a random surface mount chip here. I'm going to start with a little flux. And this is the chip quick. All right, so chip's gone that fast. The second step then is to clean up the pads that are left behind. We want to remove all of the chip quick metal, and we also want to make sure everything's nice and flat for the next chip that's going to be put in there. Now I tend to scrub in the length of the pad as opposed to across them as a row. It's just my habit. You may do something different. So, and I'm going quick here for the sake of a video, but you can see that we've got the area cleaned off. That bridge right there is part of the printed circuit board. So that was quick. You see why this is one of my go-to ways to get a surface mount part off the board. Here I've got a pair of tweezer soldering irons. This is so you can take out small parts by heating both ends, so that old jumping back and forth with the soldering iron, this goes a lot quicker. Will you need to buy one of these? Probably not, but I just find it's quick. If I do need to go pulling a whole bunch of parts, it's fast, it's easy, it was cheap. Again, almost everything I'm showing you here today I got off eBay from overseas. So let me show you the close-up here, and I'll pull some parts for you. Now, the hardest part is this thing is big, okay? And so you've got to position the board to where you can get at the parts 3D wise. So I can come in a lot easier on this one. All right, a little bit of flux. And it's off that quick. Now I use a pair of tweezers in my other hand. I found that you can either set the part down. Whoops. If you set the part on something, it will adhere to it. Otherwise, if it gets stuck to the soldering iron in a funny place, and it will due to surface tension, you knock it loose with your other pair of tweezers. And just that quick, I cleared an entire row of little 2-pin devices. And so you just saw me remove about 10 devices in like under a minute. So you can really get cooking with one of these things. Again, do you need one? Probably not. Are they fun to have? Yeah. Especially if you don't want to be afraid of surface mount. You know, I like all the tools I can get. So let's find a different way to desolder. All right, here we are at the infrared desoldering station. What you see is there's a ceramic preheater underneath it. We've got our circuit board next, and then we're going to mask it off with aluminum foil. I also do this when I do hot air for masking. And we're going to let this heat, and then at the right time, we're going to lift the part. All right, here we are. I've just threw some flux on it, and it smoked and actually boiled the flux off, which is kind of telling me I'm getting near my temperature. And I've added a temperature probe here in the form of a fluke. The bigger ones of these have built-in temperature probes, and will do a temperature, target the temperature for you. But it's not very hard to sit here and manipulate it yourself as well. Here we are. There hasn't been much to see except that this light's been running and getting hotter and hotter. And actually, I think we're about ready. Let's give it a shot. That's it. There's actually another stage here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and flatten out all the PCB lands where they were soldered so that it's nice and flat when we do our next chip. Finally, we are going to go ahead and do an actual hot air desolderization, if that's a word. And so we've got the eBay special desoldering hot air rework station. And I've grabbed a microphone stand, and I've made a holder for the hot air station here. And so hopefully that'll overcome my impatience with it. So I didn't preheat this one. I just wanted to see how well my mic stand worked actually. So, all right, I've got a hot air station. I've just got it propped up on a roll of solder so it kind of leans forward so you can see it a little bit. And this is the business end of it, and you can control how much air and the temperature. Gets noisier as you go, so we're going to turn it back down. And it has different chips. Different tips. For example, this one would fit, and that would fit over it to try and get all the pins heated at the same time. Here's a smaller one for redirecting it to a smaller. Maybe you want to do back and forth or just around a chip. We are using a tip like this that fits the surface mount chip I'm on, and you'll see it probably better when I do go to pull it apart. Okay, it's been a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and lift the hot air head and see what's happening underneath. And that came off pretty much as easily as the infrared did. So obviously the stand and the tip head worked together to give me a nice concentrated heat. I don't know how effective that'd be on the bigger BGAs. Again, that's why I have an infrared one as well. So with that said, I hope you learned something about desoldering or the variation desoldering, but more importantly, to not be afraid of one of these technologies, whether it's surface mount or it's trying to remove through-hole components in a way where you can save them, reuse the board, reuse the component, or just have the speed to make it worthwhile. So Bill Hurd on behalf of Hackaday, keep hacking.